Hello everybody, Dan Rather here, and it's on Wednesday, May 10th. Big news day because of the firing of the FBI director. One of the big questions in a long list of questions as long as my forearm, but one is, what is it that President Trump is so determined to hide? What is it that he's hiding? There's a presumption, of course, he must be hiding something because he's fighting so hard against the facts coming out. There have been calls from many Democrats and some others for an independent prosecutor, which, quite frankly, you can label this opinion because that's what it is, but it's a widely shared opinion. That a special prosecutor is needed in this case. We've had special prosecutors before, including during the President Nixon time with Watergate. But Mitch McConnell, the Republican leader in the Senate, said he doesn't think that it's necessary to have a special prosecutor because he said it would hinder other ongoing investigations. Well, the only other ongoing investigations are run by Republicans in Congress. One in the House, one in the Senate. Both of those have been bogged down for quite some time. The third one was what the FBI was doing. Now, presumably the FBI is continuing their investigation while all this confusion is thrown into the mix. But by any reasonable analysis, the FBI investigation is going to be slowed down. It's going to be hurt by this, at least until there's a new director. Now, the independent prosecutor law, that is the legislation that gave the Congress the power to appoint a special prosecutor, it expired back in 1999. So in order to get an independent prosecutor, there has to be new legislation passed. The likelihood of that law being renewed by Congress, well, pretty much zero. This, folks, is a defining moment in our history. It's not an overstatement to say that. Who, if anybody, is going to have the guts to stand up to the power of the presidency and say, we need an independent investigation. We need a special prosecutor. Who is going to forever be tainted by the stain of this story if they don't stand up? Will there be any Republican senators brave enough and with guts enough to do this? Because since the Republicans are in control of Congress, to get any hope of a special prosecutor or any hope of an independent investigating committee, it's going to take some Republican senators who say, listen, I care about the party, I care about the success of the Trump presidency, but I care about the country more, and the country has to get to the bottom of this. Now, there are all kinds of comparisons being made with what happened during the presidency of Richard Nixon and the widespread criminal conspiracy that's known by the shorthand of, quote, Watergate. But one thought, you may have thought of this already, but if you haven't, I submit it for your consideration. The crimes, and they were widespread crimes, remember it was a widespread criminal conspiracy led by the President of the United States himself, Richard Nixon. But that involved domestic crimes. Those were crimes committed in the United States by Americans. This question of the Russians' influence in the last presidential campaign is a matter of a foreign power inserting itself into an American presidential election. Again, by any standard, it is potentially a much, much bigger case, a much more dire situation, if you will. Now, it gets down to not just Republicans, but in general, who is going to put the country ahead of party? This should not be, but in the nature of things it has become. This shouldn't be a matter of partisan politics. It shouldn't be a matter of ideology. It should be a matter of, listen, we're talking about the survival of the country. When you consider a foreign power, again, trying to insert itself into an American presidential election, listen, whatever your party or political persuasion or ideology, I think you can agree if you think about it. We need to find out what happened and how to keep it from happening in the future, or at least diminish the influence of any foreign power in our elections. There's a whole lot we don't know. Some of it is just caught up in the vortex of the confusion, but some of it is being hidden. And I get back to the question, what are they hiding? Thanks.